So some of you may recall that once I said I was bringing back these gameplay discussion commentaries, that besides just discussing various topics related to gaming or pertinent industry subjects, I wanted to add a layer of personal events that I go through that I hope would be a bit more interesting than just the typical discussion flair. So today I'm going to discuss something that I admittedly am a bit embarrassed to go over. This is a bit personal to me. It's something that I've alluded to over a few dozen of my videos here and there. So if you'll forgive me for being a bit vulnerable for a moment, I'd like to discuss how my undiagnosed OCD plagues my hobbies, specifically, with video games, but honestly, it just affects about everything that I do. Now, I say undiagnosed because I never actually got tested or confirmed via a medical visit that I do indeed have this affliction. It's actually legitimately confirmed to be a disorder that I guess qualifies for disability benefits in some cases, but to be honest, I'm just a bit too proud to go down that path myself, and nor do I really want that for me personally. There's nothing wrong with me that prevents me from doing my job or partaking in my hobbies. I'm not prohibited from being happy or progressing in my career because I just don't have the mental capacity to do certain things. It's just sort of a mental gymnastics, if you will, where I often pressure myself to do things a specific way or in a specific order. And throughout my life, this has been both a curse as well as a blessing. Now, the upside to this is this mindset of mine that everything just gets done. There's no procrastination. I don't put responsibilities off or tell myself, oh, I don't really want to do this right now. I mean, I may not want to do it, right? But I have to or I need to, and I just do it. It needs to be done without question, so it just gets done. It's as simple as that. So what this means when it comes to my hobbies such as video games is that every single game gets completed. There's no, oh, I'm bored of this right now, I'm going to go play something else. I play through the game until completion, and in the past where I had quit on a game, it really took a lot for me to be able to walk away from that experience. I mean, of all the games I played last generation, let's just say the ballpark is around 150 games or so. I quit on exactly 9 of them. Some of those were live service based multiplayer games, which just don't appeal to me in like the most painful way possible. And others were just so terrible, in my opinion, I just couldn't suffer through them any longer. But that's what I mean. It like takes a lot because, of course, there are more than 9 games that I absolutely didn't enjoy from the last generation, but I completed them anyway. And when I say complete, by the way, I'm generally talking about playing through the main story or the career mode with the main missions completed and the credits rolled. My rule is that if the credits don't roll, then it's not complete. And in the cases where games don't have credits, I'm still playing through them. I just kind of replay the same missions over and over and over again until the credits kind of magically appear. Nah, I'm just joking. That's not the case. But this is what I do. It's a blessing in that, that 99% of the time when I pick up a game, I'm going to play through it to completion. And I don't rush. I do all of the side content or the vast majority of it that I run across, even if it adds to a game that I'm not particularly enjoying. Looking at you, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But when I finally do give my thoughts on a game, it's coming from a place that is as well-rounded as could possibly be, from someone who just invested a significant amount of time into the project, as well as just saw about everything the game had to offer. Now, the cursed part of this is, well, you guessed it, attrition. The idea of forcing yourself to play through something you do not like, you do not enjoy, and the silly idea of not wanting to succumb to the fact that the game beats you and not the other way around. It's not great, it breeds frustration, and there has been some games where I've nearly lost my shit doing this. Not so much these days, but when I was younger, yeah. But having to play through something you truly don't enjoy or care about just so you can cross it off a list is not healthy, it's not okay. And as I'm getting older, I'm trying to make more of an effort to relax myself a bit on these made-up rules that I have for a hobby that I genuinely enjoy. So what's next? How about playing through games in a specific order? You're going to notice a pattern when I'm discussing all of these things, that there's always a positive as well as a negative. It's like a double-edged sword where I find some balance, and perhaps it's due to this balance that, I've still been able to enjoy and love gaming despite having to work through these motions I beset upon myself. But you all know right now I'm playing through my 7th gen game collection in release date order. Now this means that every game I got for the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, I'm not counting the Wii as part of this, is being played through as if I was going through each game's North American release from 2005 to 2013. Up until this year, every reminiscing video that I have uploaded for these games was in release date order as well. So that's why I started off with the Xbox 360 launch titles and then worked my way to the PS3 launch titles and the third-party and exclusive games subsequently releasing since. This was no accident. This was no spur-of-the-moment decision that I came up with whilst game collecting. This was always intended from the very beginning, and it's how I play modern release titles as well. And how I wanted to replay my collection once I built it. Now, to be fair, it's been a really nice experiment doing this. I've quite enjoyed seeing the entirety of the 7th generation, which I mostly partook in, but I was too young to play some of the games released earlier on in the generation. I was 11 when the Xbox 360 came out, so I missed out on a lot of those initial launch year titles. But I've enjoyed, seeing an entire generation of games mature over the years, and it's been fun kind of going from the very beginning of graphics of a game running on a next generation console at the time to see how just in a few short years those graphics have improved, the gameplay elements have improved, so on and so forth. Initially I took it a step further and I got myself original launch model Xbox 360 consoles as well as PlayStation 3, a backwards compatible model, and I was playing through these games on those systems using original launch year controllers as well. Yes, I actually got myself a brand new 6-axis controller and a brand new original white Xbox 360 controller and played through all of those games on those initial consoles with those initial controllers. There was even a time where I was considering investing in like a large 46-inch 1080p LCD television, but I abandoned that idea after thinking kind of logically about it. Plus, I got myself a 48-inch Sony Master Series OLED a few years ago, and Reality Creation, when tuned correctly, literally gives results on par with using a RetroTink upscaler, or near it. It's just phenomenal software, so I'm not really losing out on anything by playing these games on a 4K panel with that type of processing done to the image. But I was all in on doing this, and since most of the games I played during this era were just later on in that generation, again, those initial titles I was playing through were my first run times through the game. But, when we look at sort of modern release titles today, things are a bit different. I'm actually way behind on games being released today. I basically took the entire last year, and even still, I'm continuing to take that break from playing any PS5 or Series X games. I took a hard stop and actually focused mostly on my 7th gen game collection, and was also finishing up my Switch library before the new Switch 2 is coming out. And only playing a brief, PS5 or Series X game here and there that was actually a remaster of an older title, such as like the Crysis trilogy, the GTA trilogy, or currently right now I'm actually working my way through the Tomb Raider remastered trilogy on PS5. But as far as like my next game to play for the PS5 and Series X that's a modern release title, that would be Lies of P. And, I've been looking forward to playing through it, but as I said, I took a hard stop, and ever since investing in a PS5 Pro and seeing some of the mixed results with, games being patched for that system, it's gotten better, and the consoles and the games are in a much better state now than what they were when I was initially testing it back when it was coming out. But we're still waiting for some games to be fixed, like Silent Hill 2, for example. Honestly, the longer I wait, the better state these games will be in, so it isn't a huge detriment, but the gameplay that you guys see in these videos is taken from some of these remasters, or if you see other games that had been recently released, they're perhaps demos of modern titles that, I was kind of teasing myself by trying out for a bit. You can see this clearly on how I kind of put together my playlist of next games to start if you watch my last year's video on how I organize my game collection. But it affects everything. It affects the shows I watch. It affects the next game I play. I'm a bit more lenient when it comes to films, and I still take myself to the theater to see, films coming out today, and I really believe in doing that. But I haven't actually watched a lot of movies at home lately. I really need to get back into doing that. But yeah, essentially speaking, I play through things in a specific order, and even if something like, let's just say, a third Mirror's Edge game, it could get released tomorrow, I wouldn't probably let myself play it until I actually get through all the releases prior to that game. And that's like my favorite game of all time. So even something as powerful as that, I would really question, or really have a hard time just saying, yeah, I'm going to jump through all these other games that released since then and go straightly into that. I mean, hell, you can go on my gaming profiles for PlayStation or Xbox, and if you look at my last played history, you'll see a list of games. And if you go down the list, you'll see the order of them is not an accident. They're all in release date order, from the currently released title, or the last title I played that was currently released, all the way down to the original, launch title of that system. And if a game is not in release date order, then it's in the order that I last played the DLC for that title, which, probably released somewhere between other games. So this is what I deal with when it comes to my gaming hobby. And at the end of the day, right, the main question, the only question that matters is, am I happy? Do I enjoy the format that I choose for myself? Am I still able to enjoy the hobby? Am I relaxed? Am I satisfied? You know what? Yes. At least I would say I'm not frustrated or sad or angry or just feel, empty. Like I said, I enjoy things now because I really take my time to play through things. And I've certainly felt that as I've matured, I feel less inclined to really kind of tell people what I think, or to try to convince people that my way is the best way. I love gaming. This is my favorite hobby, and I apply this rule set to almost everything else in my life as well. But I enjoy, and I still enjoy playing games, and I don't feel that, when I start playing like Liza P, for example, that I'm gonna say to myself, man, you're playing this too late. Don't you want to play Kingdom Come 2 or Atomfall or any of the games released today? Like, that never once happens to me. I'm always happy to start the games that I'm playing, and sure, I'm a fan of franchises, and I'm excited to see what they do with these sequels. But I also learned patience at a very young age, and these days I find that the longer you wait to play a game, the much better state that game will be in. But this is the mindset that I'm plagued with, and I won't feel sorry for myself that I am this way. I just simply am. I am as intended, as people like to say. And if I'm being quite honest with myself, I don't think that there's anything wrong with me where I'm limited so much in my ability to live my life and to feel fulfilled. So, this is just what I do. I don't need validation. I don't need pity. I don't need verification or anything else. As long as I can still love and enjoy the hobby, who cares how I go about it? That's always been my mindset. That's always been how I adopted the principles that I have. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have an audience where I'm still able to make content. I'm still able to have people watch and enjoy, and I'm able to give good ideas and criticisms without feeling like I need some type of soapbox or a platform to preach ideals towards, just due to lack of self-confidence or some other weightless reasoning. So in any case, that's it. That's all I have to say on this subject. I've never made a video specifically about this. And again, I'm a bit nerve-wracked because it is something so personal to me. I'm a bit embarrassed about it because, while I have this criteria, I apply it to myself. I don't judge people based off of the criteria that I adopt for myself. It's just what I do for me. But I hope at the very least that, this video was interesting for those of you who can't relate or can't ever imagine feeling this way to watch. And I'm actually curious to see if anyone else, who's watching this video, do you do those same things? I'm curious if any one of you who can relate have some type of regime or some style of rule set that you follow, when playing through your games or partaking in your hobbies or just doing anything else. Comment section below, people, but I'll see you all for the next one. I appreciate you all watching this video and continuing to stick by my side. It truly means a lot, and I love you all. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one, and thank you for listening.